Alright, so Sweet Child of Mine is has one of the identical riffs from Slash, and it sounds like this, the intro. Alright, sorry for messing up, but you get the idea how it sounds, and I'm sure you already know that. Now, it's actually only 3 notes throughout the riff that changes except the end. So the first pattern is like this. And the second is like this. And the third. And then it finishes on the first pattern and starts at the first as well. So yeah, I'll teach you that later. So starts off on the D string on the 12th fret, going to the 15 on the B string, and then going to 14 on the G string, and then back or down to 12th fret on the G string, and then to 15 on the high E, and then 14 on the G, 14 on the high E, and back to 14 on the G string. Now you just learned the first pattern. And you play that pattern twice. So, like this. And then the only thing you're changing now is the first tone of the intro, which started on the 12th fret on the D string now. Now you're moving it to the 14th fret on the D string, playing the same otherwise. So you're playing 14 on the D, 15 on the B, 14 on the G, and then you go back to the 12 on the G, and then you go to the 15 on the high E string, 14 on the G, and 15 on the high E, and you end up on the 14 on the G again. And you play that twice as well, and then you change the first note again to 12th fret on the G string, playing the same thing. So you're playing everything identical except for the first note, which is 12 on the G string, and then you go to 15 on the B. So from 12 to 15 on the B string, 14 on the G, back to the 12 on the G, and then to 15 on the high E, 14 on the G, and 14 on the high E string, and you end on 14 on the G string again. play twice just as the others, and now you end on the start riff, the start pattern. So after this you go to the start one, and that's how you end the first round. So you end it where you started it, and then it starts on the same pattern again, but so actually you play this first pattern 4 times. Not the first time, but every other time when you're going around, you're playing this 4 times. So you're going like this. And now we're going to the riff, the first pattern. And there we ended it, and now we're starting it again. So you get the idea. You're playing it 4 times with the 2 first is the end, and then the 2 next time is the start again. So, and the whole riff, you're playing it 3 times, I think. Let me just check. Yeah, 3 times, and the 3rd time you're playing everything the same, except you do not go to the first pattern after this, after as an ending. You go like this the last time. Normally you would go back to the first pattern, but you don't do that now, because after this you finish it by going and it's really easy actually. Just you pick the 14 on the D string, G string, the 14 on the G string. No. You first pick 12 on the high E string, sorry. 12, and then 14 on the G, and then 15 on the B string, and then 14 on the G again. You always go to 14 each second time between the notes. And then to 12 on the high E again, so. And then back to 14 on the G string, and then to 14 on the high E string, and back to 14 on the G string, and then to 15 on the high E string, back to 14 on the G, like this. So back to 14 on the high E, and then 14 on the G, and then back to the 12th fret on the high E string, and then to 14 on the G. So like